Okay. Welcome back to another episode of the T1P podcast. I am your host, Mr. Rich. I'm being joined today by Dr. Medria Blue-Ellis, who is the proud principal of ESUMS. Now, ESUMS stands for Engineering Science University Magnet School in New Haven. Good friend of mine. We have a little history for a program that we both were in when we first met. Proud to have you on the show. What's up?
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
All right. So, we get down with, first of all, asking you about where were you born? Where'd you go to school?
Okay, very easy. I am a New Havener, born at Yale New Haven Hospital, grew up in
Okay.
New Haven, did a little bit of time in the suburbs, graduated from Hill House, one of New Haven's largest public schools.
Okay. So let's back up for a second now. Let's start with elementary. Glad to know you're from New Haven, proud New Haven resident and native. What elementary schools did you go to?
Hmm. Well, I started off at Lincoln Bassett Community School in New Haven.
Okay.
Then I went to St. Brendan's.
Ooh, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that was middle school
That
or that was
was, um, that was from 1st grade through 7th grade, and by 8th grade, I couldn't take it anymore, and
okay.
then I moved to
Whose
Orchard
choice?
Hill.
Whose
Couldn't
choice
take
was
that
that?
anymore. The can't take it anymore,
No. The
was
to go to Catholic school.
my parents, 'cause I was, just, 1st grade all the way through
Yep.
7th grade, so my
Yep.
parents growing up in New Haven sent their children to Catholic schools.
Okay. So you said you got out for 8th grade or for 7th grade?
I did. I left St. Brendan's I didn't go back for 8th grade.
You didn't go back for 8th grade. You said you had
Mhm,
enough. What does that mean?
mhm. I had a pretty traumatic, school experience. I
Okay.
did. Growing up in the time born in 1971,
Yep.
um, those during that time, a lot of parents felt like schools were right and they knew the value of education,
Mhm.
and so I honestly just didn't really have, protections because it was a very, violent and traumatic kind of school experience for me.
Wow.
And my
Wow.
parents, meant well. In
Yep.
fact, just the other day we were together, my mom, like, acknowledges because I couldn't come home and say, like, you know, well, I was running through the hall. I forgot my double dutch rope from recess and I was running, but, to get smacked in the face by a nun, like, those kinds of things, like, you couldn't necessarily get in trouble. And it just wasn't a good experience for me.
I'm sorry to hear that. The most I've heard about discipline at a Catholic school was like the rulers on the hand. Is that
Hmm.
something that went down at that time
The
as well?
rulers on the hand and the passive aggressiveness,
Of course.
just feeling like at that time, the Catholic schools in New Haven were, I think, mainly patronized by Irish and Italian
Mhm.
Catholics.
Yep.
And so I felt that. I felt that discrimination. I had I think, a high radar for that, where
Yep.
some people might not acknowledge things or be
Mhm.
attuned to that. I was.
Wow. And so I'm
Yeah.
sure that experience for that long helped shape not only who you are as a person, but possibly why you got into education and how you know, well, we'll get into that. We'll see
Mhm,
if this
mhm.
experience had. Did you have any teacher or educator during that time that's worth mentioning in a positive way?
No, actually, my research my research, for my doctorate was really on, like, what motivates, educators. I know that's a
Yep.
big question, everybody wants to know that, and what I found was that, like, either you had someone who was positive, and then
Uh-huh.
that becomes your influence, or sometimes you wanna make better what could have been and should have been. So, I didn't get those teachers that really made a good impact until I was in college. I can say my, administrator, my principal, when I went to Hill House. I did like Mr. Verderam a lot.
Yep.
Um, I can't really there were some teachers, and I'll probably get in trouble if I don't mention them, but I don't wanna say they all were, like, not good, but,
Right.
in terms of, like, really being inspired. So I became an English teacher. Was I really
Yep.
inspired by anyone? I didn't actually have a teacher that taught me English that I could say, "Oh, they introduced these books," or "This really inspired me." But, there were, as I think about it, at Hill House, like Dr. Saxon, he had
Okay.
the, independent study class, and we learned child psychology and some other
Right.
things, and that was really impactful. There were some other people, Tim Shriver,
Okay.
who were very impactful. So, yeah, so when I think about it like that, yes, but I think overall, my inspiration for education really came about when I was in college. I'll save
Okay.
that for a question.
We're getting there. We're moving up to this. So you said middle school wasn't the best either.
Then so for that 8th grade year, I went to Orchard
Yep.
Hill
Yep.
in, North Haven, and, I mean, from the time I got on the bus, the kids calling you the N-word, to
Wow.
teachers telling you, like, I was in Latin and the teacher told me I didn't belong.
Right.
So, I don't know. I know a lot of people share a lot of great stories about elementary and middle school.
Yep.
I think mine was so traumatic that even to talk about, like, high school, it really it was lasting, and then going to high school in the '80s when there was a lot of violence. We're having some
Yep.
violence now, but there was a lot of violence, so, like, kids you're in school with dying.
Right.
So
Right.
that, those periods were difficult in different ways, but definitely shaping,
Okay. So
very
we get to
shaping.
high school. We get to high school. What kind of a student are you?
So, very funny. So, like, at Hill House,
Yep.
there were times when I was being called, like, things like Oprah Winfrey, or, like, I had a
Mm.
consciousness. So I
Okay.
shared them with you. I had a consciousness. So, like, one example, I'm in my history class, and the teacher says that the Holocaust is worse than slavery.
Yep.
And I didn't let that sit.
Right.
That
Right. Right.
didn't.
Right.
I wrote an article in the school newspaper, "Don't believe the hype."
Whoa.
Um, yep, that song was out. I wrote
Yeah.
uh,
PE, and that's
um
gonna shake up some people doing that, right?
yeah. Yeah, the Black Student Union at Southern Connecticut State University reached out to me like, "Who is this, like, high
Oh my
school
goodness.
student?" I had
Yeah.
my mother come up, so now go from not having that support. I was like, "No, you're coming up to the school. We're gonna have a
Mhm.
meeting,
Uh-huh.
and, like, this is not okay." So we did, and she did come, and the teacher had to apologize. And I later learned that as a history major, like, that's a fallacy. Like, you don't even compare events like that.
Right.
So, my mom did come with me. My dad was working because I want to say I got a lot of this kind of consciousness also from my father.
Okay. Was your father into education or anything, or just that black civil rights dad that was holding it down for you?
My father was a chef at Yale University, community
Oh,
people.
you saw a lot of
Yeah,
stuff then.
yeah, and so my
Okay.
father would often be like, union steward on the picket lines.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
just talked about he actually used to call work the plantation.
Oh my god. Wow.
So, like, this idea, like, that we're not off, like, no, 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 no,
Right,
no, no,
right.
there's still some
There's
things
there's some
that.
things that
Oh,
that
yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
us in our place, so to speak,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, and that but he was vocal about it, and so I
Okay.
learned that from him, being an advocate for self and others. I learned from my father.
Alright, so, your parents obviously trying to make sure you got the best education that you can, put you in private school. So you knew you were going to college, right?
Kinda, sort of,
Kinda, sorta.
kinda, sort of, especially when my older brother and sister went, so yeah,
Okay.
um, mhm.
And where'd you go to school, and why'd you go to school?
So I went to Howard University,
Mm.
and I wanted to get out of New Haven.
Mhm. Mhm.
My high school did a wonderful thing, so shout out to Hill House for that. They
Okay.
took us on college tours.
You
It
know,
was
I
a
did the
college
same
tour.
thing. Yep,
Yeah,
I did the same thing at
and
Harper
so
High, HBCU, yes, college tour. Beautiful
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yep,
eye-opening, and
yeah,
so, being on that campus, that's where I wanted to be, and
okay.
so,
So you saw a lot of schools though, but once you saw Howard in the heart of DC, you were like, "This is it for me?"
Well, we saw Georgetown, Howard,
Yeah.
Morgan, maybe those 3,
Okay,
but
well, you
that
didn't
was
go
a
down
lot.
to Hampton. You didn't go down to Hampton to see Hampton or
No,
Virginia State or anything like that.
thank God, no. I would
I,
have
I
chosen Howard anyway. I would have
That
chosen Howard
probably most likely. I did go down to, we went to Morgan, we went down further, we went to Norfolk State, we went to, Virginia State. That's where I ended up going. Wasn't a
Mhm.
great experience, but,
Uh,
Howard, I wish I had got into. I didn't get into Howard
mhm, mhm.
to be able to go there, but I'm sorry. Your story. Keep going. So you went to Howard to major in what?
So I majored in, history
Okay.
and a minor in English because I got into inroads, which was also very formative in my leadership and just my life overall. And my mentor said I needed to major in things that could be relevant to boardroom conversation, like that you didn't need a major in business, but
Wow.
you had to be worldly and knowledgeable. And we
Mhm.
did a lot of writing. I was in corporate and public relations. And so she was like, you need to major in something where, you're writing a lot. I had some gaps, coming from Hill House. We actually didn't have a lot of writing.
Okay.
So, I had to work hard, and so I majored in history. I also that experience was
Yep.
transformative to me. That explains in the history classroom where I was told that the Holocaust is worse than
Holocaust, yep.
slavery. That, and then also as I was, like, in my English classes, they were giving us the classics, no Black literature. I was reading, say, like, in my class, I would be reading, like, Part of My Soul with him, Winnie Mandela's story. So I had this
Okay.
interest in other things, the bookshelves in my house, Langston Hughes.
Yep.
So that is another reason that I ended up like really wanting to study more about history. I started off as an African American studies major and then moved to history and then was going to change to English, but I needed to do that 4 years and out. So I stayed with history.
So where along that history timeline in school, and you graduated from Hill House, right? I'm
Yes.
sorry, you graduated from Howard, right?
Yes. Yes.
Where did education come into play?
So after I started to take the English courses, I
Yep.
actually fell in love with that the subject and the discipline. I also found out I was a writer. So
Okay.
it like I said, we didn't get a lot of writing at Hill
Hill
House.
House. All right.
One of the things that I wrote when I my college essay, my superintendent of schools, Dr. Dow, shout out to Dr. Dow,
All
he
right.
actually wrote me a letter about my college essay, and it was about going to Africa. So one of the most amazing things that anyone can really have in school. This trip was so affordable, but they actually took us to Africa. So I went to Kenya and Zimbabwe. And then I wrote about that for my college essay at Howard. And I think it probably was like that essay probably had a lot to do with it if people read
Okay.
it. And I know they probably, read it. Um, so when I went started to work on the English minor,
Yep.
and I got published in Howard's literary magazine, and this is for people who, they knew they were gonna be English majors and all that,
Yep.
so I started to realize I had this talent. So from there, I went to Howard's Book Publishing Institute, and I
Okay.
was gonna do book publishing. Went to Beacon Press for, couple of months. At the time, they had, so I got job offers from all the top houses, but at Howard, I never stayed in a dorm. And I was like, "I don't wanna go to New York City and, like, live 12 in an apartment." And then Beacon Press really, like, they offered me a lot more in terms of responsibility and through inroads, I used to have my own secretary when I came home in the summer. I had my own projects, my own campaigns. So, like, I was intern of the year, I think at least twice, maybe 3 times,
And they
but
didn't lock you down with the contract?
no, they did, but then when I got there, it was like clean the refrigerator, and it was
Okay,
just
that's what
not
it's like, okay, for a
stimulating,
couple of
and so
months.
book publishing was like a real climb, and because it was a field at that time, a
Mhm.
lot of people, they didn't have to work, they either came from money, their, spouses had money, like Jackie Onassis Kennedy, like,
Yeah.
she was in book publishing. So, and then looking forward, at the time I was there, like Octavia Butler, and I know
Okay.
people know her name now, they
Mhm.
might not have known her back then as much. Um, but her book was, on the major the top people that they had. Cornel West, Measure of Our Success, Marion Wright Edelman had a book there, Nancy Oliver. So they
And you
had,
didn't
like,
know you
good
saying
stuff. No, they
I know
had
that
really good stuff, but the
okay,
top editor didn't really make what a teacher made.
got
So
it.
if you had all of that and you're
Yeah,
not even making what and so I had to also think about like, well, I've got to live in these big cities. I got to take care of myself. And
mhm,
then I was like, I really want to write. What can I do where I can write and also like take care of myself? And I ended up coming back home. Boston was also a cultural shock for me coming from DC. And,
mhm,
my husband was still in DC, and it was just so far yeah, it was a lot. It was
yeah,
like and so I just called my father and I came home.
okay.
And then I decided my mom was school secretary. So I
At
decided
where?
King Robinson in New Haven.
Okay,
So
sure, school
I grew
secretary.
up with, like in terms of mentors
Yep,
and being around and the exposure, so many different principals because my mom was the school secretary.
right,
So, and then, like, subbing on my breaks, and it was something I was really good at, and, so I decided to do this program at UNH where you get a free master's and you are subbing during the day. So I did that
what?
program. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah, and that's how and it just, from there, like, eventually I moved like, I was doing writing and, teaching at the same time for a while.
mhm,
I started off in middle school, then I was gonna focus more on my writing, and I went to private school and I taught English, and I
yep,
got into Cave Canem, which is the largest collective of Black writers, poets
yep,
and wrote with some amazing people through the summer institutes. I wrote with Lucille Clifton, Sonia
so I
Sanchez. Yeah, it was like I think that summer, I think Lucille Clifton was there too, but Sonia Sanchez definitely. Elizabeth Alexander was my mentor through a different program, and she's the one who introduced me to Cave Canem. But then I found that like it was really hard for me to be a teacher, a mom, and a poet. And I just kind of ended up focusing mainly on raising my kids and in my other career. And stopped really pursuing my poetry. But I was, like sending your manuscript
yep,
out, getting poems in journals. I did some of that, got into some journals, got into a couple of different institutes for writing. So really, it's the English that drew me to teaching and
yep,
then it was, like, the science of it, the problem solving in it, um, being able to actually decode for people, like, what English is all about, whether it's
mhm.
reading or understanding literature or being a writer, those things. And then I also this is the other big thing, I really just wanted to teach Toni Morrison. That's why I became an English teacher. I just
That's why I
wanted
became
to
a teen.
yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, I could just
Yeah.
talk about Toni Morrison for the rest of my life and her books." Who
Could
wouldn't
you
wanna
though
do that? Who wouldn't
could
wanna
I
do
was
that?
could you though so you ended up so Imma go back, Imma try to capture some of what you were
Mhm,
talking about here. You met your husband in
mhm.
at Howard.
Yes.
Okay, I got that out the way. You you did go to, you came back to New Haven, and you actually did some subbing in New Haven while you were working on being a poet.
Well, no. So the subbing was like in maybe during breaks,
Yep,
like when I
yep.
was in college, not in the summer. And then because when I came back, I went right into the program, the UNH program.
Okay,
So
and that UNH program allowed you to, get a master's while you were
yes,
teaching.
yes, subbing.
Okay. And
You were an intern.
you got a master's in English, and you're certified
Education.
in education.
Mhm.
So you taught where'd you end up landing a teaching spot at? Like
Coming from Howard, I really wanted to go. And here's the other thing. My husband graduated from Brooklyn Tech, one of New York City's top um, public
mm,
schools, a test-in, but a public school. So
okay.
there's like Bronx Science, Brooklyn Tech, and, I was just amazed by how much he knew. I mean, he's just naturally brilliant, but, like, he and all of his friends, the things they were talking about, I'm
Yeah.
like, "How do you wanna, like, not go to class, but just go take the exam for, like, chemistry and calculus and, you know, and I was just amazed. I was just like, wow, where did you go to school?
Yep.
And so, I kind of felt an injustice in that because, here's this guy, like, and he's teaching me how to play chess and all this, and
Yep.
I ended up
Yep.
winning like one game, but one
One
game, but
one time in
yeah,
20 years
yeah,
and you wanna
yeah.
brag.
That was
Okay.
like yeah. So, um, but that was a reason for me to say, hey, like, this is an opportunity to make sure that kids have every opportunity that they should.
Yeah. How'd you end up at ESUMS?
Mm. That is there's a lot to that story, so I'm gonna give you this. Well, it really is,
We're here
'cause
for the conversation.
well, you really wanna know?
That school well, that school is a pretty good school. Listen, I've been doing this for a pretty long time, right? I'm, uh 28, year 28 right now, and listen, ever since we met, I've heard nothing but beautiful things about that building, that school, what you got going on. So yeah, I want to know how'd you get how that school, talk to me. Principal.
Okay, I gotta figure out where I wanna start.
Okay.
Um, I guess I'll start there, I'll share this with you.
Hmm.
Um, my husband's sister was visiting from Guyana, and I was trying to convince her that she should come here and teach because she was a teacher over there, and so
Okay.
I'm showing her the list of vacancies for teaching. The ESIMS principal vacancy was up there. I didn't know what this school was. I told you what my background is. I'm English teacher.
Yeah,
I
you're
have
an
been doing
English teacher, yeah?
consulting. Yeah, I've been doing consulting with schools, always in English, Connecticut Writing Project, Scholar, all that. So she tells me I'm going to be principal of that school.
Your
Now,
sister-in-law?
my sister-in-law, yes,
Okay.
coming visiting here for the first time from Guyana.
Oh my
So
God.
this was maybe like around November.
Hmm.
Fast forward to like January, February, I didn't know that she was dying and she was here. This was
Oh,
her
sorry to hear
goodbye.
that. Yep.
She died. She never got to know that I became principal of that school.
Well, but
So
she told you that you were gonna
she
be
told
principal of
me
that school.
I was going to be principal of that school. I was like, no, I didn't even want to be principal. So
Right.
I didn't
Most
apply.
people don't when they do.
So
Yep.
it was not on my radar to apply for a principalship.
Mhm.
So that year, so the school had grades 6, 7, and 8. New
Mhm.
school. I didn't even know, like, very little about the school. It was run at the time by someone from DC, and
Okay.
so she wasn't really connected to our community, and nobody really knew a lot about the school,
Yep.
just those 3 grades. Um, like, by March, they were on their 3rd principal, and this is a
Whoa.
project that was supposed to be failing.
Well, it's
I
middle
got
school too, right?
It was only middle school, grades 6,
Yeah.
7, and 8. This was
Middle
the
school
year
is
of 8th grade, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
8th grade hadn't graduated. I get a
Yep.
call in April that I'm going over there to be the interim principal of that school.
Wow.
So I did not apply to be principal of the school.
Okay.
And so, then that summer, I'm turning 40, and I'm in,
Mhm.
um my girlfriends and I, my Hill House girls, because I
Yep.
still have my best friends from middle school and in high school. We're in Miami celebrating our 40th.
Wow,
And
that's
I'm
special.
thinking, how do I tell these people that I don't want to be principal of the school? And so I get a call. Oh, we found your resume and we just put your name is gone through, or we just put your name through on the board to be principal of the school.
Mhm.
So I was told months ago I was going to be principal of that school, and I became principal of that
You
school.
became and you didn't even apply to it, and you
No,
became.
no,
Well,
no.
if that's not
Unheard of, not going to a board meeting.
silly.
I wasn't even in the state. I didn't even know that, like, it wasn't even a conversation.
Wow. And you didn't turn it down, obviously.
No, I didn't turn it down, and there's more to that, but I'll just
Right,
leave
right,
it
right,
there
right.
because yeah, but I
Well,
didn't
what
turn
were you
it
doing
down.
before what were you doing before that, that they pulled you out of?
I was assistant principal.
Where?
So, at first I was assistant principal at Roberto Clemente.
Mhm.
And, had a really, great experience there, worked with, Dr. Leroy Williams, and this was around the time of reform.
Okay.
So some of the reformers came in, some things were it was for different reasons. I ended up going to Edgewood, which was one of the city's, let's see, kinda, I guess what you would say top schools
I was say
for middle
flagship
school.
school, like
It was
flagship.
a K-8. It had turned K-8, and it was like so Clemente was one of the, whatever you call it now, like, the more struggling schools. So
Yep.
low performing, commissioners network,
Right, right, that whole deal.
the school that has, yeah. And so I was there for 5.5 years, and then was it 5.5? I don't know where the half comes in, or 5, just say 5. And then I went over to Edgewood, and I didn't get to complete the second year at Edgewood. That's the half. I was over at Edgewood for like 2.5 years because they pulled me over to go to ESOMS.
Okay.
So
And
I was an
ESIMS,
assistant
it
principal.
sounds like ESIMS was a special project where did they originally want that to grow all the way to 12th grade, or was that supposed to
Oh,
stop
yeah.
at okay, they
So
wanted to
there was a plan because it was a new magnet school, so they were in that phase and things
yep,
were supposed to be done. When I inherited the school, it was in danger of losing its magnet status and
mhm,
making a lot of challenges, not just for itself, but also for the other schools that were in that phase of the magnet grant.
yep,
So, it didn't have a building, so the
yep,
year that I came in, there was no place. So me coming in like April, right? And then school has to start with the ninth grade in September. The
mhm,
building that we were in was an old Catholic school, and it was at capacity for grades 6, 7, and 8. So I had to graduate the first eighth grade, curriculum decisions, all of that. So I am like the founding principal of the high school.
yep.
I had to, in a very short time, hire people, figure out the
So,
direction the school is gonna go in, everything.
did you go 9, 12 all at once, or ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade?
Ninth grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. That's the way the grant was kind of written.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So
And then
I've
eventually I
done
had
that
to go
before
to one
too.
building.
No,
Mhm.
I got you. I've done that before too, where it's like I started with 5th, I'm sorry, 4th, then added 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, so I know that growing piece, but it gotta be hard for the high school just for the offerings and the opportunities that high school kids need at different levels once they enter ninth grade. And did those 8th graders, did they graduate or be let's not say graduate, promoted, did they get promoted out from 8th grade, or did they have a ceremony and then stay in your school?
So we ended up that school was at capacity, so I actually had to find a new place for the high school.
Wow.
And so the high school was in one building, and they were
Yep.
on high school hours, and the middle school was in a different building on middle school hours for the
Wow.
very first few years as I was growing in the program.
But those kids went to your same high school, or they got to go wherever they wanted?
They could always leave, but yeah,
Okay.
the idea is that when you're building a school,
Yeah, you're gonna
especially
stay
in
with
any
us.
kind of,
Yeah.
you're investing in the kids,
Right.
and so you're trying to keep those kids that you have poured into.
Okay, so you grew that school, and I know what it's like to grow a school. And obviously you finished it. You got 612, and then magic just starts to happen, right? Like you got this whole theme going on. STEM and STEAM is hot at the time. You got engineering and all the stuff happening in your building. How'd you build all that up to what we see now? I know that's a lot. I know it's gonna
Yeah.
take a lot, but
Okay.
please.
Well, so with the elementary grades,
Yep.
the first thing was getting all of my teachers certified in Project Lead the Way.
Okay.
I am a strong believer that teachers need good curriculum.
For
That's
sure.
my core belief, and that
Yep.
you can build from there because they're all different. Some
Yeah.
people are natural, some people can do the job with more support. So you need a good curriculum, and then curriculum that is tested
Mhm.
developed and tested and all that other stuff. So I made sure to get all of the teachers certified in Project Lead the Way. Another thing I did because the district thought the project was going to fail, so they were not really watching everything carefully and scrutinizing all the decisions I was making,
Yep.
I hired a friend of mine, and she was on a brief hiatus from being in the film industry in LA. And
Okay.
she had a company called The Color of Words, and she would basically get young people and teach them different aspects of um, industry skills. So
Okay.
with production and, filming and all that. So she was on her way back to LA. So I said, why don't you move your company into my school? Elective teachers, because like there was no plan. When I say I had to build the high school, I really did. Like
Wow.
so
Yep.
like real time. So for that freshman year, I had her move her company in. Because if you think about, how purchasing is, right? So
Yep.
if I become
Yep.
principal in July and I have to have this school ready in November, where's the equipment? You got to
Right.
order computers, has to go through a long process, all of
Yep.
that. So
Yep.
she had all the equipment by moving her company into my school.
Wow.
She didn't have to do all the recruitment. A lot of those kinds of like nonprofits that work with kids, they've got to enroll their kids after school. So she had kids, but now you have like a good group of kids that are yours that you
Nice.
can work with. Some of those kids have gone into that industry
Those
from that
fields. Yeah.
experience. And
Yep.
she also that influenced me to take on real clients where possible because she had her business partners and a way of operating. And so one of the partners that she had was the Yale Peabody, and they had this new exhibit coming up called Big Food that
Okay.
taught our communities about the value of healthy eating. So my students did a documentary for that and some of the production materials. So it was like taking these young like high schoolers and like now you're like it's like having a job.
Right.
Like, you're not
Right.
just studying this stuff in a textbook or doing simulations. This is a real clients. We don't need to have
Yep.
the parents come in to see your project as the audience or grab other teachers and different people. Let's come in and see what the kids did
Yep.
because you're talking about your work with the client. You're creating deliverables for a client.
So this was how you kind of started the school up.
Mhm.
Is
Mhm.
that how the school is run pretty much now?
If possible,
Okay.
we had, the last client that we had, like, really big client was ACEs. So,
Okay.
ACEs.
Yep.
They have students with different disabilities, and, one student had a rare medical condition where he needed
Mhm.
to learn while sitting in an oscillating swing,
Yep.
and they came to us to ask us to build a swing because there was nothing on the market that, he could sit in because he was at this time, ACEs is we're talking like elementary, middle grades.
Okay.
So, my students designed, a prototype
Okay.
and they were ready to actually build the model, but the engine costs $10,000. And so they weren't able to raise the funding the first year, and then COVID happened. But it also through that process, they learned a lot about like the patent process and how when people are working on inventions, they really have to have a market. And if someone has like a rare condition,
Yeah.
their condition is not going to get the attention that say a condition that lots of people have where there can be a
Right.
market for that. So
Right.
that swing, that was one of the challenges. But as we talk about and schools talk about teaching kids empathetic design, that's it's an issue that we still have to deal with. So the kids often are involved in creating things that people can use. So right now through
Solving
the
problems,
EDD
right?
class,
Yep.
real problems. I
Yep.
have kids right now working on a real problem, and it has to do with technology and visually impaired people.
Mhm.
And they're working with the VA company, the VA hospital rather. So it's
Yep.
not like we're doing it for the VA. It's our
Right.
idea, but we're saying, okay, you're a leader in this industry actually with this type of technology, and we want to create um, new technology, infusing some AI or doing some different things. But I just met with them and went over their project. So we're often that's like a similar approach where they're
So what
actually thinking about projects like that.
what's the enrollment in your school? How many kids do you have? What are the demographics? And then what are the special kinds of classes you offer for your school?
Okay, so I should have been prepared, I'm sorry, and had
That's
my
all right.
exact demographics, the exact
No, but
numbers, but I can tell you we're at over 600. Our
okay.
capacity is 616 every year, so we might be at like 606 this year.
Yep.
But every year wait list and every year, going towards that 616 building
Is this
capacity.
all in New Haven or you take outside students too?
So all magnet schools in New Haven, if you're part of the interdistrict magnet, you pull from the same regions. So
Okay.
it can go as far as Stratford. You might have to have your own transportation there, but like
Okay.
Bridgeport, it might have a stop. West Haven, for Easham's is unique in that 25% of our students have to come from West Haven because we're physically in West Haven on the University of New Haven's
Okay.
campus.
Yep.
So it was a
Yep.
unique project with the city of New Haven, the city of West Haven, and UNH.
Got it.
So 55% of our seats go to New Haven students, and then
Okay.
20% go to the suburban towns,
Okay.
only 20%. Our
All right.
demographics, we're one of the most diverse schools in the state of Connecticut. So we
Nice.
always get that recognition. Very, very diverse. So you see all ethnic backgrounds.
Yep.
And then if we're, using the traditional words for race, black, white, other, you
Mhm.
see all of that. We also have one of the most diverse staffs. We run about 45%, 40% of color instructors every year.
That's
Teaching
that's
staff,
that's
administrative
very
staff,
high. That's very high for Connecticut. Very
and
high
this is
for Connecticut.
consistent
Yeah.
since the
Okay.
beginning, since I started the school. Yeah, since I took over, consistent. My hiring practices have yielded those results.
Okay. And the type of classes that you offer in your building that makes you different than going to a Hill House or
Mhm,
a different middle school per
mhm,
se in New
mhm.
Haven.
So our model, every student from grade 6 takes engineering as a core class.
Okay.
So that right there in itself.
Yep.
So you'll see my 6th graders first week of school building bridges that they can walk on with planks and learning
Yep.
teamwork, and it goes all the way, you know 8th graders, so many different projects, but like hot air balloons to just a number of things. So they're taking a different engineering course every year. So we use the gateway as
Yep.
our foundation, but then my teachers, many of them that have been with me for many years, they have had so much other training, so they can improvise, and they have units that they pulled from other things, like you go to a conference or we have certain equipment that allows us to integrate other concepts into, the curriculum. But, like, 8th grade is more with, like, flight,
Okay.
and 7th grade is more machine. So every grade kind of has like sort of a theme. Ninth
Yep.
grade is introduction to engineering design. Then 10th grade is principles of engineering. And then for 11 and 12, you get to take different engineering classes like civil engineering, digital engineering. You can also take like something that really deals more with like aerospace engineering. We have and we change a lot. So I've had data science. That's something that, I haven't really been able to put it into the curriculum in the last 2
Okay.
years. One, like the teacher, the curriculum. Um, our staff is not growing, it's shrinking because of demands, just where we are, all districts right now, especially public school.
Yeah.
We are, suffering from some budget constraints, and we all
Okay.
have to kinda absorb and share that. So I don't have kind of the bandwidth to add some of the things. So
Right.
sometimes we're just doing things in unique ways. But we definitely have a slew of AP classes, AP
Mhm.
government, AP statistics, AP calculus, AP bio,
And listen, I
lots
see
of
that
different.
you said you're on a campus at University of New Haven, right?
Yes.
So you must have a partnership with them as far as kids being able to take courses, dual credit, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yes. So New Haven Public Schools allows you to take college classes in 11th and 12th grade. And
Okay.
so we have more students than any other school participating in that. So I have kids at Yale, kids at,
Mm,
most of them go to Yale, but Southern and
wow.
of course UNH. But the unique
Right.
thing about UNH is they allow us to take classes, our students to take classes in grade 10.
Okay.
So as
That's
early as 10th
nice.
grade, but the PLTW classes are worth college credit. Kids just have to pay for that. It's $250 for
Oh, they
each
do have to
class.
pay for that.
If
Yep.
they pass the end of the year assessment and they have like a B or an A,
Hmm.
they can buy those credits as well. And so then we have like the ECE classes, early college classes. So some of our like other classes, you can get college credit, ECE physics, ECE
Yep.
English,
Yep.
right there in the school. But a lot of kids do go out and get credits at Southern, Gateway, Yale, UNH.
Now, obviously, just by you describing all the courses that you have and the opportunities that students have, I know your school is a academic marvel, right? What about the social emotional piece, right? Whether it's before COVID, after COVID, how do you get what's the climate and culture like, and what do you use for that
Mhm,
when it comes to your
mhm,
middle and high school students?
mhm. So I shared with you my background coming from Roberto Clemente, which
Hmm.
was a really high need school. Then I
Yep.
was at Edgewood, and I was mainly working with the middle school. But I realized that point systems, not something that I kind of believed in and I didn't
Yep.
feel really worked. And
Okay.
so I elected as principal not to have that,
Okay.
structure. And the first thing that I did, and so there were 3 principals, I also mentioned that in the year that I, became principal,
Hmm.
people were leaving, so the behavior was terrible, was really
Okay.
bad,
Yep.
and that was the first thing that I had to do was clean up the climate and the culture.
Yep.
And what I did, the very first thing though is I didn't like look at the students, right? Like I looked at teaching practices. If you have 1,000 write-ups, then you're basically saying you can't do the job. That's the evidence. You're giving your own evidence because part of teaching is classroom management.
Yes, it is.
So holding teachers accountable, but then giving them the tools. So I introduced something called nonviolent communication. And it's a
Okay.
way that we talk to each other. So you invite people into an experience. You can't do a top down, you don't say pick your head up, talking commands. You kind of I notice your head is down. I'm concerned because I'm teaching something
Right.
that I need you to learn right now. Are you willing to put your head up right now so that you don't miss? Oh no? Okay, well, do you need the nurse? All right, then you just leave the child alone and we deal with that after, but you don't get into battles, whether it's middle school or high school.
That's
So
right.
I gave that training and then
Now
went to
wait,
restorative
time out, time out.
practices. Mhm.
Nonviolent communication?
Yes.
And is that like someone you call in to come and run workshops for you, or is that you teaching them?
I did have a consultant at the
A
time.
consultant. Okay,
I
yep,
had a consultant, because how this worked, when I was at Edgewood, we had a peer mediation program and there was a trainer. And my principal and I were like, wow, this would be great for our staff because there was a little bit of like,
yes,
some people not
yes,
getting along with each other. And so um, the trainer started to do some nonviolent communication work with the staff. And then so when I
yes.
left Edgewood and went to ESOMS, I was like, I want that training for my teachers too, because it wasn't just about getting along. It was about communication.
Okay,
And it's something that you can use outside in your personal life, but you can also use it in the school. So I firmly believe that that was a big part of it is that we just have to learn how to communicate with each other. And then I asked the trainer, like, well, what else do you have? And he was like, well, he was like new in his studies too with this thing called restorative practices.
yep,
So we're talking like 18 years ago, because I've been
yeah,
principal here like 16, and I took that from, or at least 16 years ago. So he came on and introduced restorative practices. And
yep,
when the school did well, like 2 years in, and the scores were amazing, and the state had this grant, like if you shared your best practice, they would give you small financial little token. I think might have been like 2,000 or something. But
Yep.
what my team and I shared was restorative practices. And then now look, like everybody's doing restorative practices. So um
And
yeah.
so that's something that you continue to do now. Uh,
Yes, to degrees. I mean, and there's a lot of research on restorative practices that, like, so it's not, I don't want to kind of miscommunicate about that. And I haven't read up on it like
yep.
recently, but I do know, like, what are the studies showing? Because
Okay.
a lot of times we embrace things like we embraced, was it whole language, and it got us into a lot of trouble, like,
Hmm.
not teaching phonics, that whole
Right.
movement.
Right.
So
Right.
we just can't jump on a bandwagon and then think that's the end all. We are in a difficult space with a lot of our students and some of our schools.
Hmm.
And I think you have to find that sweet spot of what works, but you definitely have to have systems where kids are, there's an accountability for everybody. Like, you
Yeah.
can't send kids out into the world thinking that everything's gonna um, be a circle. But I do believe in circles. So every
Yeah.
classroom starts with like respect agreements.
Okay.
Um, we moved from after with the working with the consultant, we moved to the ruler program.
Yep.
And so we have mood meters in our classrooms. We do circle up when there needs to be certain things that, like within the classroom, and for problem solving when kids make mistakes. That is a go to, and we try to be very cognizant of that. We try not to use traditional things of like suspensions out of school. We don't really have an in
So,
school suspension, but we're
oh, you,
getting one.
whoa, 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 time. 612. You got a 612 with
Yeah.
no ISS.
No, no. The
What
district
it?
for equity is gonna give us an ISS worker, but I don't have a need. I don't really like utilize. So I'm gonna use, it'll be a different look in my school because it's not something that like, yeah, and I don't
Well,
want
so, well,
teachers.
hold up. What do we do? We take breaks. We go sit in your office. Do we walk around the campus? How do we like
I have
deal with
engaging
students?
I have engaging curriculum and
Okay,
like
oh,
the learning.
listen, that's
And
number
so
one. Tier one.
that's number
I'm
1.
with
Number
you.
1. Number 1 is like, making sure that my teachers can meet the needs
Yeah.
of all students, that there's something in there that kids aren't bored, that it's engaging, and
So
then just
wait,
a respectful culture where kids fold into that. Yeah.
do you have any vacancies?
Come
I'm
see, no fights. We hardly look, I'm a knock on wood, but hardly ever
wasn't
any
I
fights.
wasn't asking for myself. I was just asking for like just for the general rule that or the general state of education where we have a lot of vacancies in our schools. Some of our schools, our middle schools, our high
I don't
schools, hard to
open up
find
the
teachers.
vacancies. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No. I don't,
Okay.
and
All
then,
right.
like, so, I mean, like, it might say, so if you might go and look and say, "Oh, does she have vacancies?" And you see one, that's not really a vacancy because I have a
No,
permanent sub. I'm just waiting for her to get certified, most likely. Like right now,
we're
like,
not trying to take
look,
I'm
we
not
have
trying to
to,
take your permanent
we are
sub's job.
following, yeah, we are following all union rules and all that. But I'm
Yeah,
saying
yeah,
she's
yeah.
eligible, and then when it opens up, others can apply, and she can
Yep.
apply as well. But I wasn't
Okay.
going to right now roll the dice when I have a perfectly fine, like in school, in-house person who's been trained by my staff, knows our curriculum, and is doing a bang up job. Like she
We
ended
are
up getting,
not trying to bump her out. We're not trying to
yeah.
bump her out. It's
Let,
all
let me
good.
tell
We want her to
here.
keep
I'll
that
say
job.
we everyone took AP seminar last year in 10th grade. She
Yeah.
was one of the 10th grade teachers. They had
Okay.
like 70-80% pass rate. Like
That's
so,
a great. Okay. All right. All
right?
right. All
So
right. I'm gonna back
so
off. I'm
it's a
gonna back
sub.
off
It's a
vacancies.
sub, but it's not a sub. You know what I
I
mean?
got
It's
you.
like,
I got
but this is education where, you can't just go and say, I know this person has the degrees and the experience, and they
you.
got
Hmm.
to go through all these motions to get certified. And that's where she is. But I
Yeah.
work really, really hard. Not that other people don't, but I work really hard on hiring, and it's challenging. And
It is
especially in this
challenging.
climate that there
Yeah.
just are not a lot of teachers. So I even try to share as much as I can with kids and parents. Like, it's hard. Be good to these teachers because there's not a
Absolutely.
lot of people signing up to take their jobs.
Now, what
That
kind of ways do you? What kind of ways do you show that you as a principal of a school for retention purposes? Because I can imagine you don't have a lot of turnover each year. How do you show appreciation for your staff?
So let me just like say one thing about that
Yeah.
turnover. I'm not
Yep.
sure what the percentage is, but yeah, there's going to be turnover
Yep.
because we also have to look at the way the world is.
Mhm.
People move. People like people just don't sign up for jobs now and want to stay forever. It's just not.
No,
It's
not
not
the
the
same.
new way, and so
Right.
we're still judging ourselves based on that. And I'm actually thinking like, yeah, some people should go on, and
Mhm.
maybe if you come back, um, every year it's not uncommon for me to have people that are on a non-renew list if
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
making the cut because what I found through this hiring process is that sometimes, like I've hired people that were non-renewed
Yeah.
and so but like either you're going to prove yourself or you're going to be non-renewed again. But to
Right.
let a person get tenure, because this
Right.
is one of the challenges. Like I'm a union person. I said my dad was a union leader. But
Yeah.
it does hurt. It does hurt some of our kids because it is hard sometimes to get out people who need to get out. You could fizzle
Yeah.
out. And just
Yeah.
because you did a great job for 10 years doesn't mean you get to stay and be lukewarm for another 10,
Right.
right? Like,
Our kids deserve better than that.
yes, this is not the kind of job. I don't even like to go to work sick anymore because
Right.
I need to be 100%. This job, you
Yeah.
don't want to come in and you're halfway, because you got to make tough decisions quickly. And it's tough. It's very tough for
Yeah.
teachers and for administrators.
Okay. So for
So,
your
but
teachers,
teacher
I'll go back.
appreciation,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I mean, I don't think I'm over the top. I appreciate y'all if you watch this, but like, this is my job, it's your job too. We all gotta do
Right,
our jobs,
right,
you
we gotta
know?
do our job.
So, I mean, I would probably say it's very similar to like in corporate, like, like you do a good job. I'm gonna tell you you're doing a good job. But I
Yeah.
think the other thing that goes probably even further than teacher appreciation is I have a motto, together we soar. And
Okay.
so I'm expecting and inviting you. This is our school, shared
Mm,
leadership,
mhm.
same values and beliefs. So, like hiring, a lot of my teams and departments do that because we're making a selection and a commitment together.
Yep,
And that's appreciation. So, there's a lot of things that I hope my staff would view as appreciation. Yes, occasionally, I'll do the lunch. I think I'm going to do something Friday. But
yep.
at the end of the day, um, yeah, this is our we appreciate being
You
able
coming to
to
work every
share.
day. We
Yeah,
appreciate you showing
we
up. Yeah.
appreciate having a job, and, like,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have to
yeah.
have perspective, right? We
Mhm.
appreciate having a job. We appreciate what the financial that part. We appreciate
Yeah.
having
You
benefits.
paid for it. Yep.
So, we
Benefits.
have to like, yes, it's okay, dogs came around, not
Okay,
children,
that's all
it's
right.
dogs, okay. It's dogs, they don't understand, "Get out of here." But, like, so yeah, I appreciate and I try to do different things, but I'm also like a teaching principal in terms of like, I give staff development, I
Okay.
lead some of my PLCs. I'm in the weeds with you. So I think
Yeah, yeah.
appreciation in a lot of other ways, like I'm not the last one on the scene when there's trouble, I'm the first.
Right.
Like that. Like so um those things and creating the environment where you can do what you want to do. If you love to teach, you can come to eSIMS and teach your heart out. If you have an idea for a great course or something like that,
Yep.
um, yeah, those things are valued. And I think that goes a long way. Like people want a little bit of autonomy. They want to feel valued professionally more than like being given, say, some sort of finance, something that's like
Yeah,
a token
tangible,
of
like a little
appreciation.
gift or
Yeah,
whatever, but I
yeah,
do
like a
hear what
little
you say.
pin or something like that,
Right,
yeah.
right. I love that. Valued, professionally is really, really big. So let me ask you this. So you've been, I want you to brag a little bit, if that's okay, about your school or about yourself, right? For 16 years, you've been a principal at this school. People are dying to come into your building, to go on tours, to have you in conversation, to find out what's it about. What's some of the recognition that you've received or your building has received over the last 16 years?
Oh, goodness. So we get Magnet School of America awards, like, all the time.
Okay.
We get, the highest level, like, School of
Distinction?
Excellence,
Oh, excellence.
excellence,
Okay.
and then
Yep.
sometimes we've gotten distinction.
Okay.
I guess that one of the highest honors with that is that when they were putting together a book about magnet schools,
Okay.
um, I was interviewed and got to talk about ESIM. So, like, we're in an official book that you can buy,
Yep.
and uh, letters and citations from different people for different things
Uh,
when there've been awards at our school. For me, the Fulbright would be one of the things that I think that I value the most.
That's awesome.
And so I was
Congratulations.
awarded that as an
Yep.
ESIM's leader for global schools. And but there are a lot of places. So if I fail to like to say and somebody watches, it's like the Milford Links, the NAACP. There
Right.
are a couple of different organizations that have given me recognition. Oh, the one that I really treasure, yes,
What's that?
the oh my god, the little black dress. Oh my gosh, I'm so
Is
sorry,
that what
Greg.
you
I'm
wore? It's not the name of
Legacy
the award.
Foundation. I'm sorry, I
Mhm.
almost the Legacy Foundation. I really value getting that award this year from the Legacy Foundation
Nice.
because of the work that they do. So he is someone in your area, up in the Hartford area. If you
Okay.
haven't seen the work that the Legacy Foundation does, it is amazing.
Legacy
And
Foundation.
so the Legacy, they do college tours. They take the kids everywhere from the US Open. They were somewhere, I think they were at a UConn game this weekend. They have classes every Saturday,
Yep.
but this is the philanthropic arm of one of the people in your area who is now working with young people and educators, and it's just phenomenal. So
Nice.
I value that because I value he could be doing a lot of other things, but he is pouring into our students. He's
You don't want
more
to mention who this Legacy Foundation person is?
Greg Jones, and he is
Right.
a graduate of Morgan State University. So we
Got you.
connected first through HBC World, and yeah, and so he, yep.
Okay. So thank you for sharing your awards, your recognitions for you and your school. You mentioned being a poet. Do you have anything published that we should know about?
So the Cave Canem journals are probably like the biggest ones. So if you, they would be the years that I went there, but they do a chat book every time there's a group that goes to write. So within that one, I think that's the one that, well, no, Sonia Sanchez is in that. Tracy Smith, who was the poet laureate. Elizabeth Alexander was the poet laureate for Barack Obama.
Okay.
Um, and so that, but these are like the chapbooks have been, um, they're older. So you wouldn't, and they're not like being in a book that kind of stays on the shelf for a long time.
Well,
They're
are you still
smaller print.
writing now? Are you still writing now?
No, not poetry. No,
Okay.
not really. Not
Okay.
really. I
Just
mean, but I use writing in everything that I do. Like I have to write, speeches for the yearbook and speeches for graduation, and I have to communicate a lot, like to audiences. And
yeah.
so, um, I sometimes have a little bit of fun with words.
Okay. Well, tell us about your fun with words and your TED Talk that you recently did.
Oh, so that was really that was an experience because I had never done that before,
Yep.
and it was how many minutes? Like 5 minutes. So, I
Okay.
thought I was gonna go and give a presentation at first, and then
Yep.
it was like, "Oh, no, this is a TED Talk." So, you just had some images behind you, and you had to basically tell a story. And
Okay.
so, I really kinda told us I shared some of the things here, but, like, how I
Yep.
got started. I didn't talk about, like, my first teaching assignment,
Okay.
but what I learned from that, like, I taught at a school that had adopted the Bank Street curriculum, and we taught the Voyage of the Mimi, so I had a good start learning about project-based learning,
Okay.
and that's where when I talked about curriculum, why I think it's important, like, I had the Voyage of the Mimi. I had a nice little kit when I was teaching math because first I taught 6th grade, and so, with, like, different resources. So for kids who were advanced, kids who were struggling to reteach, like you had it there. You didn't have to create everything. Now AI, opens up new doors too. So teachers have at their fingertips lots of resources and information. But so I kind of talked about that. And then I talked about like even my philosophy, like taking on real life clients, a little bit
Yeah,
of Fulbright. It was a lot packed in there.
in that 5
Um,
minutes. How'd you get
in
that
5 minutes.
opportunity?
So I was a Nellie Mae fellow, Nellie Mae Education Foundation from the Speakers Bureau fellow.
Okay,
And I also have learned things like so I could be able to write and advocate for policy. So I had some interest because I'm trying to figure out like what might my next where might I go with some of my educational interests since I finished the doctorate. So I did that fellowship, which was a year. Now I'm doing another Women of Color fellowship. And then my nonprofit, the Connecticut HBCU Alumni Network. It's a
yep,
um, nonprofit that I started with actually one of my former students in my first teaching class, Kendrick Bracy. So when I wanted to do a send off for students in our community, I called on Kendrick, who had gone to Morehouse but was in my first class of students. And I had a magnet resource teacher who worked in my building who went to Hampton. So Alice, and then I was the president of the Howard University Alumni Association at the time for the greater New Haven area. And one of the people who was on the board, I called on her. And she's a member of the founding members. There are four of us, and my son, five actually, my son who was at Howard. So we started this Connecticut HBCU Alumni Network. And yeah, I
okay.
forgot where I was going with that actually, but
Don't it was how'd you even get the chance to do the TED Talk?
oh yeah. So like just trying to like I like to stay very active, but I think I'll be doing
Okay,
some different things with that organization. So I'm kind of at a like I think I got enough on my plate, but I was just trying to figure out after the dissertation and the doctorate was done, what other learning opportunities were out there.
yeah,
Fulbright was a great one for me, and I just like to learn, and so I wanted to experience and learn about more about like speaking engagements, but
yep,
also writing engagements in the field. So I had a
okay,
year of training in that, and then was given the opportunity. A couple of us were given the opportunity to go and deliver keynotes at a conference, a
nice.
major conference.
So, it's our time now to get into your top 5 as we wrap up
Okay.
this
Top
wonderful
5.
conversation, and
Okay.
this is top 5 TVs TV shows or movies about school,
Okay.
and remember you have to start with your 5th all the way up to your 1st, so you ready,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Alright,
Yes.
5.
Okay. So I would say, school days.
School Days, number
School
5,
days.
Spike Lee,
School
okay.
days, yes, just because Spike Lee has to be there. School days, like, early introduction to HBCUs, so that
HBCUs,
came out the year before I went to college, so that was
okay.
kind of important. Um,
What
well,
was it?
actually,
Was
well,
your
when I got that, like, let me say Welcome Back, Carter was the first thing.
was that 6? Are you going with are
No,
we
no,
doing
no,
6?
I wanna put School Days as 4.
Oh, 4.
Welcome
Okay,
Back,
so Welcome
Carter.
Back Kotter is 5.
Only because, yeah, I remember watching that. I don't know if you remember, but I remember
I
watching
remember.
that as a yeah, it was like the first school series that and it had some
Yeah.
humor. And
Yep,
so and you gotta remember because there's humor in what we do too. And we
for
are kinda
sure.
like a little family. Our schools
Yep,
are like little families. It is ultimately like so people who wanna teach, it's a nice and it's something nice to be a part of.
for
You
sure.
are gonna be a part of like a small, close-knit community and family. People are still coming from neighborhoods, even though it's not a neighborhood school. They're in that
Yep.
developmental phase of their life. So I would say, because that was the very first sitcom that I was exposed to, Welcome Back Carter.
Okay, Welcome Back Kotter, and then now 4 is
School days.
School Days. Now
School
was
days. I'll keep Spike Lee's film exploring, like, um, the colorism and all of that because I had interest in I was an AFAM major at first, so
Mhm.
in HBCU, so I'll say School Days would be number 4.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is, I'll say Aquila and the Bee.
Okay.
Counts as a
All right.
little, like,
Kiki Palmer.
you know yeah, because, like, we the messaging that we get sometimes about
Mhm.
young Black people is that they're not at the very top and the most brilliant, and that needs to be dispelled,
Yep.
that no matter what school you come from, that you can soar right to the top,
Yeah.
and, like, in Aquila and the Bee, we didn't really see, like, um some of these kids who are on that circuit, they've been in all these little programs. There's a little
Uh-huh.
formula that people use to get their kids to be in different places, to be at the science fairs and all of that.
Mhm.
So, Akila, just that natural brilliance.
And I actually had spelling bees in I had 2, principal spells. One at
Mhm.
Milner, we had a spelling bee there, and I always did it on CMT. At first, it was like CMT, science and math words, and then when I started B-STEM, we had a little spelling bee for there too, so I thought that that was cool, that we actually tried to do the spelling stuff. Alright, number 2.
Number 2, I'm going to go with the Great Debaters.
Okay. I recently watched that. I was told I needed to watch that, and I did watch that.
Yeah.
Denzel can never go wrong with Denzel. Why The Great Debaters?
So in New Haven, the NAACP, and I love to give
Yeah,
credit where people do good
yeah,
things. We since then um, the NAACP of Connecticut has this event, and Morehouse, I'm not really Morehouse, like Howard and Yale will
yep,
debate. Sometimes other schools might come down here and debate, and take all the kids. But
wow,
again, this is an opportunity to see us in a different lens. And a lot
mhm,
of times, the stories that get told about HBCUs, you don't get some of that, like about a show that really features, say, the debate team.
right,
And just like any other college, you have all of those different types of groups that are having people are not having the same experience. And
yeah.
that's something I'd love people to realize is that
And school
you
days didn't focus on the debate part of the HBCUs like The Great
No.
Debaters did. Right,
Yeah. No, yes, right? Like, it's more like a drum line or something, some of the other
right,
things, but you go there for your academic brilliance.
mhm,
There are people coming out of there leading. You have more doctors, lawyers, educators, you name it, coming from HBCUs, people top in their field. So in our own community, um, if we say, okay, how many Black surgeons do you know? Well, I know one. There's probably a couple more, but the one that I know, Dirk, he went to Morehouse, right?
right,
Like, so
nice,
you can, yeah, you can find your area of expertise and come out and really shine.
mhm,
So I would say the Great Debaters, and it gives you that historical setting. And I was a history major.
yeah, for sure, right in the, wonderful town of New Haven. Um, number 1.
Number 1, I would have to say A Different World.
Ah, more HBCU stuff, alright,
A Different
let's
World.
go.
A Different World was 1987 to 1993. I went
Mhm,
to college 1989 to 1993. And, I would come back, like, in my apartment watching A Different World.
yep,
Um And so, I met my husband at college.
yep,
There's a
yep,
lot of, like, just parallels to, um, the show that I,
okay,
could really think of. Like, they had their little place where they would go. We had our punch out, and, um,
yep,
definitely learning about different people. For a lot of people, and even me, like, I hadn't had many experiences in the South, and, had never gone to, like, Texas, and to meet
right,
people, I hadn't been to California, but to meet Black people from all
from
over
all over the
Detroit,
place,
see
yeah,
how, we're all so different, the different schools that we're in. Um, not really I can't say my experience is like with the classism, but I know it's there, like, especially now, how we're like
right,
a lot of people who are actors and movie stars and all, a lot of people are sending their kids there. And so we do have probably like even more of the class divide, but
yeah,
definitely um there was, you can see that, like, we're all coming from our, like, inner city worlds. Some of
Mhm.
us are first generation. I was first generation. So I think, A Different World highlighted all of that, the friendships. I still
Yeah.
have my Howard bestie, love her to death, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, A Different World.
I mean, you gotta shout out Bill, Cosby for at least that whole piece around that life and the Hillman College piece, which was probably mirroring, Howard or Hampton or, one of those prominent institutions, in the show as well. I appreciated that show too. I was in college, again, at B State for a short amount of time, but came back and had to figure it out. But some of those experiences was there. Did you connect with any of the particular characters on the show? Like, was did you see yourself in one of them? I hope
Uh,
he wasn't the Whitley character.
Not Whitley,
Okay.
but maybe Lisa Bonet's character,
Yeah, yeah.
because, I was a creative, and then there was the older one who was more mature because she was a little bit older, and I
Right.
kinda
She was
did
the
feel like,
AD. Yeah.
yeah, I kinda felt like, um, a little more mature in that, like, I did not drink.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not, like, go like, I spent a lot of time, like, in the museums, and,
Okay.
like,
Okay.
I was a little m more mature, like, I didn't really some of the I missed out on that. I missed
Yeah,
out
yeah,
on
yeah.
some things because I just didn't, um being in DC was one thing for me, like,
Yep.
just being in a whole different state, there was so much there. We had we didn't have any Greeks when I was at Howard, so that was different.
Oh,
Everybody was suspended. We had, Black Force. So,
okay.
I told you what I was doing in high school, you know exactly where I went in terms of, like, um, kind of like who I was associating with and the kinds of
Mhm.
things, but, um yeah, so I got to really experience some different things, different
Okay.
political ideologies
Yeah.
and practices. Stopped eating meat, been wearing my hair natural since then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's a
I didn't
niche.
have to wait for the new wave, like, no, had, part of my time there, my hair was a little bit longer than yours,
Yep.
so, um just yeah, like all of it. Like, so just a lot of Black pride, um, and
Listen, that's
togetherness.
pretty dope. You got your friends still from back then, and obviously your husband
Yeah,
from back then, and your kids and
yeah.
whatnot. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad you chose that. Number one, that's the first time that, believe it or not, that's the first time that that show has even made it on a list. And I was waiting for somebody to say it, so I'm glad you brought it up. Um, so we got to wrap this up, but it's been great talking to you. 16 years as a principal. We talked about this offline a couple weeks ago, but 16 years as a principal. I asked you, were you interested in doing something else? Because I believe you got the best job in the world. So, is this it for you? You good? You good where you are as a principal?
I don't know what's next for me, so, I'm going to kinda just continue to enjoy what I'm doing. There's so much work to be done. It's an exciting time with, AI and seeing the possibilities, how it can improve teaching and learning.
Hmm.
So I'm very much interested in that. I'm very much interested in how we need to really make sure that we have students leave with stronger critical thinking skills. I think the nation needs us to do that. And
Yes.
I think there's still some room, a lot of room for growth, and engineering does a lot of that. Some of our STEM and science areas, but definitely in the humanities and just all across, making sure that kids know, and it can be taught. Like, you can be taught to be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
So I'm doing some work in that area, and we'll see what
Okay.
happens after that. I did
All
say
right.
that I'm in a new
Perfect.
fellowship with Black women leaders around the country.
Is
And
that
so,
AASA?
no, women of color, I just got in,
That's all
and so
right. That's all right.
yeah,
I know AASA does little cohorts of groups and different demographics that they pull together for their cohorts.
yeah,
Um,
this is a different one. Maybe you have to have me come back because I can't even shout them
that's
out.
all
But
right.
it's
Don't
like
worry about it. Don't worry
women
about it.
of color, something like, and so it's brand new, and juggling a couple of things right now. I had already like applied, got in it, but then I have some other things going on.
You're just
So I'm
phenomenal.
gonna
Just
see, like,
phenomenal.
I'll see where all these different things that I'm kind of working on right now take me, and if it's best for me to kind of stay put where I am, or
Hmm.
um in the I don't know. I mean, like right now, I'm really still having a great time,
Yeah.
and I
I'm
still
not
have
trying to rush you out.
accomplished.
I'm
Yeah.
not trying to rush you out. Now, for those people, last thing I promise. For those people who say, you know what, she does tours. I heard you say that. I heard you say that people can come in and visit. So if we have people who are looking into leadership or beginning principles, or different
Hmm.
people who want to run a STEM program, how do they get an invite to come in and not to your house
So,
to hear your dogs, but how do you get to
hey
come
guys.
in and um and have that eSUMS experience?
So you can connect me. So follow us on eSIMS Insta on social media.
Okay.
You can. I'm on LinkedIn,
Yep.
and you can definitely just email the school.
Yep.
And we have a program, our professional outreach program, eSIMS
Yep.
Pop. And so for professionals, we allow them to come in. Like, so parents and students who are interested in going, I don't do tours because our
Okay.
focus is on the students that we have that have gained enrollment and have
Yep.
chosen us, and I can't plan for perspective. So you can follow us on social media to be
Yep.
if you're interested, and we have our like kind of an open house, but we don't do tours and shadowing and stuff. But
Okay.
for professionals, you can tell me like I'm interested in like climate and culture, and I want to know
Yep.
about how you implement restorative practices or nonviolent communication, how you onboard new staff, or what STEM, whatever area you think you want to learn
Yep.
about. Literacy could be literacy. Like that's
Yep.
my English department is phenomenal, phenomenal.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, you just say building thinking classrooms. My teachers lead many of the workshops in the state and nationally. So
Nice.
that's
I
an
didn't know that.
area like,
Really?
yeah, every single math class is a building thinking classroom. Yeah.
That's good to know.
The
That's
whole
good to
school.
know.
Yeah, the
Okay.
whole school. So from 6th grade all the way up. Definitely, a stronger presence in our high school, but middle school
Yep.
as well. So, we also are the only school, no, one joined us this year. We implement the Bloomberg Global Scholars, Global Cities program. So
Okay.
my students in grade 6 work with their international peers on solving world problems and learn about their history and geography. So I have taken that on as the bulk of our curriculum for social studies for grade 6. And then we still, work with whatever concepts and standards we have to do for grades 6 social studies in terms of the content, but also like making sure that our classes, our social studies are focused on writing, reading, and thinking, because it
Yep.
doesn't matter if you're studying Asia, Africa, what time period, if kids aren't walking away from with skills, and because we can look up most things now, right? So you don't need
Right.
to like the
Right.
focus on memorization or just knowing different facts, not as important. So anyway, yeah, if anyone wants to come in, you can just contact me, and then I would put you in touch with the person who will organize that. Like you'll tell them how many people. If you want to see certain classrooms, you have to, give you a schedule of when those classes are in session so you can see it, whatever grade levels, um, all of the things, whatever you're interested in. We are definitely willing to share.
All right. Well, thank you very much. It's been lovely having you on. Thank you for taking the time. And we appreciate you here.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right.
Okay.
So that's it. That's a wrap on this episode of the Teach One podcast. But I do have some homework for you. You got to subscribe, you got to like, you got to share with your teaching besties, and then comment on your favorite takeaways. That's your homework. Seriously, thanks for tuning in and being part of this amazing community of educators. Keep inspiring, keep growing, and remember you're teaching one student at a time and making all the difference. So see you on the next episode.